You didn't expect it in the middle, did you? Did you? Silly, silly. You thought it would come at the start, you were wrong. Uh-huh. You were preparing for a Aristeru, but you got an Aristebu. Aristebu. Oh gosh. yesterday I had an oopsie. Because I scheduled the video for yesterday. And then I was like, wait, why is the stream scheduled for right after my video? That's not right. And so I was like, oh wait, I scheduled the stream for the wrong day. That math was not mathing. And I was like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. I realized today that I was wrong. I know. I thought I had the schedule in my head, but as it turns out, there's a reason I usually always check it on my own Twitter. I know recently I've been very ditzy. I don't know if it's because of my new medication that I take, but when I came into my room earlier, I got so horrified, because my cinema roll chair was stood like an inch away from my heater on full blast. And that my house did not burn down and that the chair did not catch fire is all thanks to the miracle of the chair being made out of plastic, probably. Because earlier I was in my room, and then suddenly my mama came in with like two men, and she was like, "Yeah, Eddie, they're here to look at the heater to say hi." And I was like, "What? What?" You have to understand, she did not warn me. She did not warn me at all, or tell me that this would be happening. So I was just in my room, in my pajamas, with my legs up on the table. And I was, quite frankly, very, very appalled and scared. I was like, oh, hello, hello. And then, and then I left. I ran away. And I forgot my chair in front of the heater. Togo didn't bark at them. No, he doesn't bark at strangers when they come into our house. He's very friendly. He only barks at people who walk past our fence because he likes to scare them. Yeah. でもね、so I was just in my pajamas at like 1 p.m. just getting scared by random people, and then I left my chair in front of the heater while it was on full blast. The good news is my chair is nice and warm. The bad news is I think I almost set my house on fire if that chair was like 1% more flammable. The question is, has the heater been fixed? No. Because it's fully broken and they gave us like a 50,000 euro price quote on getting a new one installed. Can we count that as scary story number 1? That's why I'm telling it. That's why I'm telling it. It's very topical. Yeah. I am. 50k, yes, for a Wärmepumpe that is with the new Umweltregulation. Cause, yeah. Gas is gonna be harder to get because of the new Wärmepumpe laws. And so my uncle convinced my grandma to, push for a Wärmepumpe for both of the houses, and I was like, alright, let's do it. And it's a lot. でも大丈夫かな。大丈夫かな。50k, I know. I know, right? The good thing is that you can get government, how is it called? You can get, government support? Government subsidy. Yeah. Subsidy. よかった。よかったかった。anyhow, let us get started on the horror stories. I like Zatsu too much, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. On one hand, I could never be a VTuber who does 5 hours of Zatsu before a game, but on the other hand, it's hard to stop myself from at least a little bit either. I remembered my days of like just instantly starting a game without saying a word other than hello. I hope we get a 2-sentence bad horror story. Oh wait, I have to share my favorite horror story with you. ちょっと待ってね。Also, arigato. Thank you, Six. Scary stories. I'll start. This story is in fact happening currently. Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, my phone. I have phone notifications on for donation alerts. Which is probably a bad thing because I can hear it on my PC too. I know. This story is in fact happening currently. Adi remembers how I moved to a new place, right? Well, my new place is fantastic, aside from one door that is locked. And I can hear giggles coming inside from every now and then. But that's not the part of the story. Focus, Adi, focus. So I got woken up by some wailing, and what I could only classify as banshee sobbing screams. Yeah, you know, the type you would hear if Adi was getting chased by tombstone miners. I'm now on night shift. I had to tape blackout curtains to my windows, so it's dark in my room and I can't see anything. So I bravely stand up from my bed, open up my bedroom door, and I'm greeted with what I can only describe as a ghostly figure that is looking intensely at me. My heart rate spiked as my eyes finally adjusted to the light. It was simply a tree shadow. And the noise, a cat trapped on a tree branch wailing because he is scared. Anyway, my new place has a balcony. Well, as it turns out, one of the neighbor's cats climbed to the tree and refused to come down. The cat is within arm's reach, but that's not the scary part of the story. Wait, that's still not the scary part of the story? What's scary is that the owner is a lady and... Wait, you can't just cut off the story there, huh? Is the scary part of the story that you went to talk to a lady? Oh wait, oh there's a sequel. And I can't imagine what Adi will do to me if I interact with the neighbor. Oh. Why would you think that? What would possibly make you think that? Me? Me? I would never react in any crazy way. Guys, good thing is he hasn't found the trapdoor under the bed yet. Don't worry, guys. He thought it was the cat. He didn't think it was me. It's fine. ありがとね。I had, right. When it comes to the horror stories, I wanted to look through like a scary stories subreddit and read stories from there. But I don't know, the stories on there were a little bit corny. So I took two of their top stories, and then I've got some fresh r/RPG horror stories for you, cause they're more fun for me to read. Also, arigato. Thank you, Anima. I'll share a scary story if that's okay. I had a nightmare. We were ready to watch ID streams on Scary Thursday night, but nothing kept happening. The scary part, Audio set her stream for Friday into Thursday, and we were completely bamboozled. In my own defense, I am so ditzy that I left a chair in front of my heater and almost set my house on fire today, so, you know, I hope that was a compelling argument, thank you. For your troubles, I will give you a handsome reward. For those of you who decided to come here, despite the perilous trial of being misled about which day this was happening, I'll give you a reward that is worth your while, gentlemen. Let me find it for you. I believe you will come to enjoy it. Quite frankly. ちょっと待って、I have to check which one I want to show you. Okay, let's show you number 5. Yeah, number 5. Number 5 sounds good right about now. A finished scab? It's a finished scab. Stop spoiling. How did you know? This is behind door number 5. Oh wait, it's still too big. He imaged too big for my frame. Alright, sure. Oh wait, no, we needed a little bit tinier. It's so big. No matter how much I keep shrinking it, it's still too big. Alright, let's do it like this. Let's just give you the scenic tour. Nah. Oh sorry, my scenic tour got frozen for a moment. Now let's try to make it small again. So you can actually see the full image. It doesn't want to fit on my screen. I keep sizing it smaller. Okay, well, one more smaller. Okay, 2 more smaller. There we go. That image was huge. Oh my. Ta-da! Ta-da! Do you not like it? Do you not like it? It's elf ID. Mm. えっと、for my ASMR videos. How much for the yonder ID to pop out of the trapdoor in my room? I know this trick. You're not gonna get me to reveal my location. Tisk, tisk, tisk. What is her charisma? 23. Not reachable by legal means, but she's got legendary items. Arigato ne. Thank you, Sisan. Our goddess Ari in all her divine presence. It looks good, right? I'm so happy. Ne, so, please consider this as your reward. For being nice and patient with me. Hi. Hi, Elf. Yes. Wait, put it back. Okay, you wanna have it? Okay, here's a deal. I wasn't done drilling. Wait, don't say that. I know. Okay, here's the offer, trade offer. Um, I'll put it back on screen while I'm reading the D&D horror stories, but I'll keep it off screen for reading just the regular horror stories. I know. Thank you, Markito. She might not gain height, but what do you mean? I don't see anything off or strange about this image. I don't see anything disproportional about this image either. Um, um, anyhow, sillies, don't you want to get started on the horror stories? She's not getting buffed, and and the yo does not keep getting louder. You guys are just hallucinating. Who did the art? Let me find them for you. I know. Be prepared that there are some images on their artworks that are maybe a little bit yabai. But I did not request yabai. Does Ari fit in her Japanese clothes then? Actually, I did recently try on a dress I bought in Japan, and it fit. And it fit. Yeah. There you go. There's the artist in question. Like, they draw very nice.
I was crazy once. They put me in a room. A rubber room. A rubber room with rats. And rats make me crazy.
Oh gosh, I still don't know what makes the alerts break like that, but I don't know, it just started one day and it's been like that ever since. Anthony, arigato! Thank you, Friendly Elephant. Arigato ne. Thank you for the gift of membership. Demo, yeah, that artist draws quite nicely. Yeah. Demo. Okay, let's get started on the horror story. Okay, one more second, then we'll get started on the horror story. Arigato ne, thank you, Anima. Alright, we accept the reward since it's definitely breathtaking. The artist did an amazing job for an amazing double waifu. Also, cute tummy on that art. Thank you. I like that part too. Alrighty. Alrighty. Now, let's start with the horror story. It's, I picked two from the... Arigato ne. Thank you, 6. Happy 18 months. My best bet is that it's the connection between the alerts and where the sound is stored. Oh, but I don't know how to fix that. By the way, we're getting to 46k pretty soon, hey? Eh? Since when? We're not that close though. We're still less than halfway there. I know. Arigato ne. Thank you, Sitsan. Horror story based on a true story. You find a super cute art, you're absolutely in love with the artist's style, but then there comes your clothes or their art is very expensive. I had this happen recently, where I found a really nice artist. And then I looked at their prices, and they charged like $1,200 for an illustration. Which, I mean, you know, that is certainly something an artist can charge. But it's just not within my budget, so I was like, oh well. Nemo. Living on a prayer. We're not halfway there yet. Nemo. Alrighty. Let me can we now get started on the horror stories? Which artist and what did Heidi want drawn? Wait, let me show them. You're all just trying to distract me. Let's see. I always follow artists that I want to save. I have to see where I followed them. How long ago? Oh, wasn't this person? Was it that person? No, it wasn't this person. Doko doko? Was it this person? No, it wasn't this person. You might think it would be better for me to have like an artist list instead of just randomly following them and hoping I'll find them again, but you'd be wrong. I found them. I found them. It's ちょっと待って。Yeah. Oh, right. Here we go. This is the artist. They draw really nicely. So I was like, I'll check their commission prices to see if I can afford it, but I could not, in fact, afford it. Hi. でも、いいよ。Now we'll get started on the horror story, okay? Okay. And what was it that Eddie wanted drawn from them? I didn't have anything in mind. I just wanted to check out their prices. Cute girl artists almost always charge a lot, but that is understandable.
Arigato.
Did I eat today? I ate, what did I eat? I ate it. Alright, I ate a pizza. My mama brought pizza. But the pizza gave me a tummy hurt. Hi. For a friend. 大丈夫。大丈夫。thank you, Anima. I'm definitely interested on the process on the skib you showed us. Can we get more details on how you asked for such a beautiful art? Well, if you're asking what I asked for, I was just, can I get a fantasy elf girl concept? And that's all I asked for, and they gave me that, and I was quite happy with it. Ne. Yeah. Too much pineapple on pizza? No, there was no pineapple on the pizza. That took way too long to remember. I just woke up from a nap, please. Onegaishimasu. I just woke up. Okay, now I'll get started on the horror stories. Speaking of things, people, I'm celebrating today. Happy birthday to you. Wait, it is your birthday, right? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Miranai. Happy birthday. Oh, heck. Couldn't you have said it sooner that it wasn't your birthday? Oh, 1000 wish lists on game on Steam. Oh, I got the happy wish list to you. A happy wish list to you. Happy wish list, dear Miranai. Happy wish list to you. There you go. Okay. Now we'll get started on the story. Story from r/scary stories, posted by Klutzy Chemical 1929. Don't Google yourself.
Thank you so much.
Why? Arigato. Thank you, Consteve. Mid-story jump scare. Arigato ne. Why? Because you may not like what you find. One day I was bored and I decided to search for my own name on Google. I have quite a rare name, so I didn't expect to find many results. Imagine how surprised I was when I came across a website that had my full name in the domain. www.myname.com. When I clicked the link, it brought me to a message board. I looked at the profile of the website owner and found out that the person was the same age as me and had the same hobbies and interests. There weren't any posts on the message board, but I was intrigued, so I saved it in my favorites. It was about a month later when I went back to the website. This time it had more content. There were some diary entries, mostly random things like the weather was nice today, or I'm so bored at work, things of that nature. However, as time went on, I began to notice more and more coincidences. The person lived in the same city as I did. It struck me as rather strange that two people with the exact same rare name would be living in the same city at the same time. At one point, I noticed that the contents of the diary were quite similar to my own life. One day I went to a baseball game, and when I checked the website that evening, I found that the owner of the site had gone to the same ball game. At first, I didn't think much of it. After all, tens of thousands of people in the city supported the same baseball team. It began to seem like much more than a simple coincidence. Whenever I checked the website, I would notice little biographical details that seemed too close for comfort. For example, the owner mentioned their pet dog, and the dog's name was the same as the dog as I had when I was a child. The website owner posted a picture of their car. It was the same model of car I'd been driving when I was in college. They talked about eating at a certain restaurant. It was the same restaurant I had gone to all the time when I was working at my previous job. One day when I looked at the message board, people had written messages to the owners saying happy birthday. That day, it was my birthday as well. I decided to write on the message board for the first time, just out of curiosity. I was going to wish the owner a happy birthday and tell them we had the same name. However, when I tried to write something, I realized that there was nowhere to type your message. It wasn't a message board at all, just a static page. That's odd, I thought to myself. In other words, whoever owned the website had gone through a lot of trouble to make it seem as if it was an interactive site, as if there were people posting on it, but in actual fact that all the content must have been created by the owner. Why on earth would someone do that? I wondered. I decided to send an email to the owner. It read, "Hi there, believe it or not, we both share the same name. Nice to meet you." It was just a friendly email. The next day, when I tried to look at the website, I discovered that it was gone. It seemed like it had been deleted. Then I opened my mailbox. There was one reply. When I looked at it, a chill ran down my spine. It just read, "I found you." How do we like that story? It's a rather ambiguous ending. I don't know why they left it that ambiguous. Like, why would that person make a message board about someone? That sounds like ID stalking for some reason. Yeah. Well, I mean, if I were able to stalk you that well, I'd already know your address, don't you think, silly? Don't you think so, silly? The website guy just wanted to be friends, of course, because they share the same name and interests, right? Yeah, they're so similar. They're just so similar. Hi. ちょっと待って. I had to turn off the heater that almost set fire to my room. But yeah, that's what I meant by the stories on there are a little bit cheesy. Cause, you know, this is very classic, like, a Reddit horror story. Oh wait, I did want to share, my favorite short horror story with you. I forgot about that. It's also a, thing from, well, actually I don't know where it is from. I thought it was from Reddit, but maybe not. It was posted on Reddit though. Alright, are you ready for the scariest story? Man and girl go out to drive under moonlight. They stop at a side of road. He turned to his girl and say, "Baby, I love you very much."
What is it, honey?
Our car is broken down. I think the engine is broken. I'll walk and get some more fuel.
Okay, I'll stay here and look after our stereo. There have been news report of stairs being stolen.
Good idea. Keep the doors locked no matter what. I love you, sweaty. So the guy left to get fuel for the car. After 2 hours, the girl say,
"Where is my baby? He was supposed to be back by now."
Then the girl hears scratching sound and a voice say, "Let me in." The girl doesn't do it. After a while, she goes to sleep. The morning, she wakes up and finds her boyfriend still not there. She gets out to check and man door handhook car door. Yeah. The fabled beautiful story of Mandor handhook car door. Dene. That is my favorite short horror story. Yeah. Yeah. One of my GMs actually had a sort of similar situation. He got a call from a loan shop because some guy who shared his full legal name and birthday and lived just a few towns over somehow got a hold of his phone number and used it to register the loan. Oh my god, I called the police. Identity theft. This and But Who Was Phone. Actually, I haven't seen But Who Was Phone, so let me look it up. I wanna see But Who Was Phone. I wanna see But Who Was Phone. Okay, I'll read that one too. So you're with Honey, and you're making out. When the phone rings, you answer it, and the voice is, "What are you doing with my daughter?" You tell your girl, and she said, "My dad is dead." Then who was phone? Then who was phone? That is crazy. What? Oh my god, 4 weeks ago around this time you just ended your stream and I heard a dog bark outside. I found someone unconscious on the lawn across the road and had to call 911. Oh gee, that person is lucky that I ended stream at the time I did, huh? Were they fine? Were they fine? Ugh. But who is 911? No. I know. we've got another contribution from Mark. Thank you for contributing another horror story. Es war einmal und ist nicht mehr ein kugelrunder Teddybär. Er aß die Milch und trank das Brot und als er starb, da war er tot. Ah. Naruhodo ne. Wow, that is really scary.
Arigato.
ありがとね. Thank you, Adi. You should try the Creepcast podcast. They cover the best horror stories on the internet. One of the hosts, Wendigoon, covers real mysterious and murders. I assume you mean real mysteries and murders. Actually, I used to have a true crime phase, but then I kept getting recommended more and more ridiculous creators. And it was like girls who were like, "Oh my god, guys, welcome to my video. Oh my god, today we're doing our makeup and I'm using the Rare Beauty blush." And yeah, like he stuffed her in his car as he dismembered her. Oh my god, wait, sorry. This blush is like not blending at all. Yeah, and her family is like still grieving because she was 5 years old and this happened 5 months ago. Can you believe it? Yeah, oh my god, this is almost as scary as my blush not blending properly. You know, so I was like, that's kind of crazy to, monetize, like, real, recently happened murders like that while you're doing your makeup. I know, arigato. Thank you, Setsan. Thank you for your contribution of a horror story. Once there was an ugly barnacle. He was so ugly that everyone died. The end. Naruhodo ne. Naruhodo ne. Thank you very much for this contribution. Alrighty, let's go on to the second note. On to the second story. 3 months ago. Oh wait, I have to tell you. It's from the r/scary stories posted by Joshua Andrew 1985. Why do they all have year names in their name? Anyway, 3 months ago, I learned of my uncle's passing. We weren't particularly close, but he left me one of his houses in the will. I was touched, but I just wanted to sell it off. I'm a fairly new father of twin girls and didn't need another thing to manage right now. To speed up the process, I decided to travel across the country to live in the house until a sale was assured. My job just requires a laptop and phone, so I was approved to work remotely for the time being. Unfortunately, my wife had to stay at her job, so I took him alone. At first, I treated it as a mini vacation. I had hoped it would only last a week, but the process was more involved than I thought. I had a realtor taking care of most things, but after a month, I'm still here. I noticed things going wrong right away. Stuff where I never placed it, I'd see shadows out of the corner of my eye. I've lost track of time constantly. I thought it was caused by stress, loneliness, except for the few times the realtor came by. With prospective buyers, the house was the quietest place I've ever been in. Before I completely lost my mind, my neighbor came by with a dog. She was an elderly woman who explained that she'd been dog-sitting while my uncle was in the hospital. Now that I was here, she thought I should take Buster, the golden retriever. I thought the neighbor might have been forgetful because she seemed to think that my uncle had just passed last week. Either way, I fell in love with Buster and his presence was exactly what I needed. I even thought it would be a tremendous present to bring home to my girls. I just hoped my wife would feel the same way. However, even the dog could tell something was wrong with the house. Buster accepted his new living arrangements pretty quickly, but would never willingly go upstairs. This was alright with me at the time. I thought it would make it easier to keep track of him. Then Buster disappeared. Literally one moment he was standing right behind me as I was opening the treat jar to give him a snack. My eyes left him for just a moment to put the jar back and he was gone. I ran through the whole house calling his name. The kitchen was connected to the living room, and on the other end of that was the master bedroom and study. The other end of the kitchen led to a dining room which was connected to the entrance hall, but also led into the living room and stairs to the second floor. After walking upstairs, you had a choice of right or left along a balcony that overlooked the living room on one side and entrance on the other. Going left led immediately to a guest room and game room. Going right led to 2 more guest rooms and a bathroom at the end of the hall. I looked in every room and had to accept that somehow the dog made it up outside, even though there was no doggy door and every window and door had been closed and locked. So I searched the surrounding neighborhood for another hour before giving up. I was thinking about making flyers when I opened the front door and heard Buster scrambling towards me from the kitchen. I was ecstatic, of course, but I just couldn't wrap my head around how I could have missed him. I let Buster sleep in the bed with me that night. In hindsight, it was a huge mistake, but it made me feel better at the time. Things picked up at work, though, and I soon forgot about all the strangeness surrounding this house. Clients called me constantly, but we were getting a lot done and I landed multiple large contracts in a row. I was working around the clock, but I knew I'd be due for a promotion once I returned to the home office. Several times I'd get lost in a phone call or spreadsheet and suddenly find that it was nighttime. I'd be so absorbed with work that I would block out Buster whining for food or to go outside. I started to set alarms to keep track, but I had too many important clients to slow down. I was on top of the world, but my health was starting to suffer. I'd forget to eat and even sleep sometimes. There was always something else to do or someone to talk to. I even got better at taking care of Buster. Better than I was at taking care of myself, at least. Then my good mood ended with a bang. Literally. Buster was whining behind me as I finished another spreadsheet. Then we both heard a door slam upstairs. For the first time since I brought him inside, Buster ran upstairs by himself. I almost called the cops, but I felt silly with the phone in my hand. I started to doubt that I'd heard anything at all. And if there was an intruder, surely Buster would have been making more noise. So I mustered all the courage I could manage and crept upstairs with a frying pan as my weapon. It was dark upstairs, but enough moonlight was coming in from the downstairs windows for me to make out Buster standing in front of the bathroom. I had purposefully closed every door when I came through there looking for the lost dog, but this door was now wide open. I flipped on the hallway light, but nothing happened. With no better idea, I raised my frying pan high and walked slowly to the bathroom. There was no window there, so it was pure darkness inside. I was terrified. Bizarrely, Buster just looked frozen. His tail stood straight up and he just stood there, pointed towards the door. I had tried to take it as a good sign he still wasn't barking. That's what finally got me through the threshold into the bathroom. The whole time my eyes had been getting used to the darkness and the bathroom was too small for there to have been anyone there without me noticing. I started to relax when I took a step forward into something sticky. I suddenly realized that I had my cell phone in my pocket. I pulled it out and turned it on to cast some light onto the floor. I immediately dropped it at the sight of the bright red liquid that surrounded my feet. I fled upstairs and this triggered Buster to follow. This time, I had no trouble calling the police. Thankfully, there was already a patrol car nearby, so 2 officers arrived within a couple of minutes. Their powerful flashlights cut through the darkness like knives, but they soon found nothing was wrong with the upstairs lights. Something did appear to be wrong with my pipes though, as they called out from above that the puddle was just rusty water. Because of their insistence, I climbed up the stairs again and clearly saw a muddy brown puddle in the bathroom. The banging must have been from a pipe breaking. Both cops had a laugh at my expense, but were otherwise understanding. They even gave me a number of a good plumber through my cell phone, though my cell phone was ruined after I dropped and left it in the puddle. I would have to use the one landline in the kitchen from now on. I let them out and promised to call the plumber first thing in the morning. Yet, as exhausted as I was, I couldn't go to sleep over that excitement, so I stayed up to draft some more important documents for my company. Before I knew it, Buster had made another mess in the living room. I was dead tired and said some things to Buster that maybe I shouldn't have. And I did some things to him that I know I really shouldn't have. I decided to do something about the stress I'd been under, and I spoke to my supervisor that same morning. To my surprise, they were happy to let me have the week off, as a sort of mental vacation. Just like that, all my outstanding work was taken away. With nothing else to do, I tried to focus on Buster. I played games with him and fed him a bunch of treats to make up for my earlier neglect. Then I found the first message. I didn't notice it for some time since I'd been avoiding the second floor, but I realized that I hadn't actually called the plumber. Before doing so, I went upstairs to see if things had gotten any worse. Instead, I immediately saw a message written on red in the hallway wall. It read, "Losing your mind?" For a second, I kinda did. I was scared to death at the thought that someone had to have snuck into my house while I was there, probably when I was sleeping. I won't bother repeating everything I said or did right after. Let's just say I hadn't become any braver since the banging. Eventually, I unlocked my bedroom door and made my way to the kitchen with Buster leading the way. I called the police again. Those same 2 officers were able to show up, and then, slowly, we cleared every inch of the house, yet we found no one. Everything was locked, no sign of forced entry. The police actually took me seriously, something that bewildered me at the time, and admitted that this isn't the first house in this neighborhood to experience this. There had been a series of break-ins where nothing was stolen, but the police officers still offered to have a car sit outside for the night. Even though I took them up on this, I soon realized that I'd never get to sleep tonight in this house. So I called my only friend in town, and really in the whole state, an old college roommate who coincidentally lived 30 minutes away. He offered to pick me and Buster up in a few hours, so I busied myself with packing up my suitcase. I didn't know how long I would need, so I pretty much packed everything I'd brought with me to the house in the first place. I left my room to pick up some doggy toys when my friend called to say he was waiting outside. I decided to hang up my phone and meet him immediately. I needed the human company, and he could help me move my stuff. But the driveway was empty. There was no friend, no car. I called him back immediately, and he insisted he was outside. I listened to him get out of his car and walk up to the front door. He knocked and I could hear the door open and an elderly woman greet him. My friend asked for my name and mentioned my uncle. The woman said she'd never heard of either of us. After thanking her, my friend left and asked me if I'd gotten all that. I told him I must have given him the wrong address. He rattled off the correct one and confirmed he was there. After asking him to wait, I left my house again. I walked out to the street and looked back at the numbers written on the curb and on the mailbox. Only there weren't any numbers. Just a message, losing your mind, written on the curb, in red. The temptation to leave right away was great. I could just start walking and never stop. But I had to get my stuff and, more importantly, Buster. So I entered the house one last time. When I came back to my room, my suitcase was empty. Everything I'd just spent the last hour packing up was back in its proper place. Despite how impossible this was, I focused on only one goal. We needed to leave. I put a leash on Buster and was shocked at how haggard he was. I resolved to make it up to him when this was all over. I tried to leave out the front door like nothing was wrong, but I couldn't open it. The knob turned freely, but the deadbolt wouldn't slide back. I was really scared now, but Buster's presence helped. I knelt down to give him a hug and he gave me an idea while licking my face. Whatever was happening, it surely wasn't the result of a maniac hiding in my house. Still, I didn't know what forces were actually opposing me. So I walked to the backyard and said loudly, "Well, Buster, time for a walk." The glass door slid open easily. Buster bounded out happily. I guess it had been a long time since I let him outside. I followed more tentatively and, for the first time, examined the backyard closely. There was an iron fence surrounding the yard with another space between the bars that Buster could slip through. And then I saw it. A tree that grew too close to the fence and had several branches extending through and above it. I assumed the gate would be supernaturally locked too, so this was my exit. Buster didn't need any prodding. He waited patiently for me on the other side as I painfully pulled myself up and over the fence. I was suddenly aware of how weak and tired my recent lifestyle had made me. When I was in the process of climbing down the tree on the other side, Buster growled once and then took off like a shot towards a nearby hill. I jumped down and gave chase. He disappeared over the top and I scrambled to keep up on the surprisingly steep surface. Luckily, I found where someone had laid some stone bricks into the side for an easier way up. It was still steep enough that I had to focus on placing my feet correctly to keep from sliding, so I was looking down when my next reach up resulted in my hand grabbing carpet. Confused, I looked up to see the second floor landing. I looked down to see the rest of the stairs that led to the entrance hall and living room of the house. Buster was nowhere to be found. Demoralized and tired, I crawled the final steps and just sat on the landing for a while, occasionally calling for Buster. Eventually, the kitchen phone rang. Whatever ghosts were messing with me, I realized they couldn't stop outside forces from helping. I tumbled down the stairs in my haste and landed hard on the cold tiles below. But I was only dazed for a second, and soon was in the kitchen with the phone in my hand. My wife's warm voice filled me with hope. She was concerned that she hadn't heard from me in a while. I couldn't recall the last time I'd even tried. She was trying to tell me that my work hadn't heard from me in a week while I tried to tell her to call the police. Her words gave me pause, though. I asked, "What do you mean?" I was given the week off. Dear, I thought you were supposed to continue working as soon as you got there. Yeah, but they gave me a week off because of all the stress I've been under. Wait a second, how long have I been out there? Honey, you've been gone almost 9 days now. My stomach sunk, but I didn't hesitate to say, listen, you need to call the cops, something is wrong. I think I'm having a medical emergency. I'd just been trying to come up with an excuse to limit the amount of follow-up questions. But I ended up realizing that this was actually the most likely explanation. Maybe I was just suffering from a gas leak or brain tumor. Ironically, either of these options seemed preferable to living in a haunted house. My wife asked, "Baby, what's wrong? Are you okay?" I thought I saw a shadow move out of the corner of my eye and I answered, "Yes, I'm okay, but no, I need help. There's something wrong with this house." You aren't making any sense. Just listen to me. Call the police and tell him my uncle's name. Tell them to come to this house and send an ambulance. Please help me. Please help you? Pretty please with a cherry on top. I stared at the phone in my hands as my wife's voice continued to come out of it. It sounded like her, but in a mocking tone I've never actually heard from her before. She said, "Does your tummy hurt? When's the last time you ate? I wonder what Buster tastes like." I slammed the phone down, but whatever it was on the other side was right. My stomach was hurting. I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten. On cue, I heard Buster whining from upstairs. Only after I started running towards the stairs did I notice just how bruised and sore my legs were from my spill down those steps. I pushed through the pain and climbed the stairs yet again. Buster was back in front of the bathroom, lying on the side and looking thinner than I'd ever seen him. "Losing your mind" was written all over the hallway now, including on the ceiling and floor. I no longer had any doubt the messages were written in blood. Some of them were still dripping. I walked over and picked up Buster while a banging started at my front door. I would have jumped if Buster hadn't been weighing me down. I heard the front door open and whoever it was identified themselves as police. I even recognized the voice as belonging to one of the officers who had visited previously. Why can't I remember his name? After calling out that I was upstairs, I turned with Buster and found the hallway stretched before me, many times its original length. Despite how thin he looked, Buster felt heavier than ever. I knew this was all just some trick to not get me in touch with the police officer. I thought I must have really been talking to my wife. She had to have come through with calling the police and the ghost just distorted the end of the call. So I started my trek back to the stairs and shuffled my feet as fast as I could, yelling all the way. But then a voice answered the police officer. A woman's voice, my wife's voice. I could hear her say, "I'm sorry, my husband wasn't feeling well. He's resting in the bedroom. Can I help you?" I screamed as loud as I could just to get attention, but it was of no use. I heard the officer say, "I'd like to check up on him all the same." Sure. He's right through here. Come on in." It was right out of a nightmare. I was sweating profusely while every step seemed to get me nowhere. I tried to speed up, but the hallway just stretched further. And then I heard a man's blood-curdling scream from downstairs. Suddenly, the hallway snapped back and I found myself somehow right at the top of the stairs. My momentum couldn't be stopped. I fell down the stairs and landed hard on top of Buster. He howled in pain, but at least he was alive. I saw a long, thick trail of blood go around the corner, under my closed bedroom door. There was still a shadow of something under the door. I painfully crept to the kitchen and grabbed my trusty frying pan before making my way back to the bedroom door as quietly as I could. My eyes watched the moving shadows nervously. Whatever was waiting there had killed a man. That meant it could kill me. But if it could had a physical impact, then surely it had to be susceptible to a physical impact too. So I raised the frying pan and slowly started to turn the handle. Before I made much progress, the door flew open on its own, and something turned suddenly to me. I swung the frying pan down. The cub stood before me, a smile frozen on his face. We both looked down at the knife plunged into its chest. My hand was still wrapped around the handle. He fell to the side and I fell backwards to sit heavily on the now clean floor. I was positive I'd picked up the frying pan. I could remember its weight. But now, I also remembered going to the kitchen and pulling out the knife. I seriously wondered if I was losing my mind. I looked down to find I had the knife in my hands again. I dropped it at once and crawled back to check on Buster. He wasn't moving. I put my head on his flank and was devastated to feel he was still warm but not breathing. I didn't know what to do, so I did nothing. I did nothing for a long time. I was lethargic, but somehow made it onto the couch in the living room. I waited there until nightfall, and then slept on the couch. When I woke up, I waited some more. I wasn't sure what I was waiting for, but nothing horrible was happening to me while I waited. I wasn't in a hurry to change that. But the bodies of Buster and the cop were still there. I needed to do something. My stomach rumbled as I finally got off the couch. That was another problem with staying put. First things first, I found a shovel in an outdoor closet attached to the backyard porch. Digging the hole was exhausting, so I settled for just burying Buster now. I planned on getting to the cop after finding something to eat. I picked up Buster and carried him outside. His fur was still so warm that it was hard to believe he was gone. But there was no life behind his big brown eyes. I gently laid him down in the hole and got to work. Sometime later, I wandered into the kitchen and raided the pantry. The house was quiet apart from my efforts. Whenever I stopped moving, the silence was complete. I wondered if the ghosts had just been trying to make me a murderer after all. Now that their goal had been met, maybe they would leave me alone for a while. Just in time, because I was starving and didn't need any more distraction. I opened a box of cereal and had a handful up to my lips when I paused. How could I tell I was actually eating what I was looking at? What if I had actually been opening a box of rat poison? I still wasn't sure what these ghosts were capable of. I imagined the food turning into worms after it was already in my mouth. With that thought, I threw the cereal to the ground and stomped off, no longer hungry. I needed to concentrate on my efforts on leaving this place. Right on cue, I walked by the front door. It was wide open. Instinctively, I made a leap for it before stopping with my outstretched hand just a foot short of the door. This had to be another trick. I could see the door slamming shut in my face or even taking a few off my fingers with it. I could feel a breeze enter the house, but I was too scared to move. This was the most impossible situation I'd ever been in or heard of. All my senses had failed me before. However, my need for freedom eventually caused my feet to move. Upon slowly exiting the house, I saw the cop car sitting in my driveway. The doors was unlocked and the keys were sitting in the front seat. My mind went wild trying to explain the situation. Maybe the cop was secretly a murderer and had killed previous owners of this house. Maybe his sacrifices helped him move on. I couldn't think of any other explanation for my good luck at the time, so I just pushed my misgivings down and got in. I drove out of the neighborhood without incident, but I had new problems. I was in an unfamiliar city driving a cop car, with no money or belongings on me, and I had no idea what to do next. So I kept driving. It felt good to be free of that house. It felt good to see the sun. So I kept driving on and on. Left turn, right turn, left turn, right turn. No idea where I'm going. And then I realized I hadn't seen any other cars on the road for some time. Where was everyone? Where was I? A sinking feeling happened again, in the pit of my stomach, but also around my whole body. I sunk back into the car seat and realized I was sitting in an armchair, back in the living room of my uncle's house. My arms were up like I was still holding onto a steering wheel. I started to cry with frustration as I stood up and screamed. How long had I been sitting there with a stupid grin, moving my arms up and down like a madman? I turned around and I saw my work laptop on the dining room table. It was on and glowing at me. I walked over to it and saw something was already written down in this post. It read, "Lost your mind? Good. Now you won't mind losing the rest." Suddenly, my fist felt weighed down. I raised it to find another kitchen knife in my hand. I dropped it immediately. I erased the message and started to type out a request for help. I ignored the screen and just focused on the keys. But I kept hitting them wrong and another message slowly formed. "I'm sorry. I've disappointed you all. For the last time, goodbye." I could have screamed again, but I noticed something had changed. I wasn't in the dining room anymore, I was in the study. I kept writing and writing and my own words started to come out. I had sent out emails requesting help. I've posted on the local police department's Facebook for assistance and I've just tried to keep writing no matter what. This is my latest attempt to keep my sanity. Whenever I've tried to take a break, I find myself in a new room with new horrors descending on me. Once I opened the study door out to a hellish landscape, I almost stepped out into lava. I wasn't sure if it was all an illusion, but I didn't even want to have a vision of my feet burning, so I just closed the door and resumed writing. I'm not even sure this is all because of ghosts. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, and the truth is I simply have no idea what's going on. As I've gone over these crazy events, I realized that I can't even recall my uncle's name, or what he looked like. I'm not sure I ever had an uncle. I'm trying to think really hard about how I came here. Did I fly? Drive? I can't remember. Have I always been here? Even weirder, I can't remember my realtor's name or even what gender they are. I've met them in person several times. Why don't I know things I should? I can't even remember the name of my daughters or my wife. Am I even a father? Am I even a person? I know I must be because here I am writing in this small study. But now that I think about it, I can't remember who my parents are, what they look like, or anything about my childhood. Now I just remember this house and all its nightmares, walking and otherwise I've experienced here. I'm feeling a lot like I was back in the cop car. I found a way forward, but I really don't know what to do next. This is not a way to live and I'm getting more and more tired. I'm so hungry. And I'm finding it harder to focus. I keep hearing voices and they keep getting louder. I know if I stop writing I won't last long, but I'm running out of things to say. My hands are tired, I'm tired. So tired. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dogs. I need to keep writing, but I don't know what to say anymore. What's my name? I don't know. I'll die if I stop writing, I'll die if I stop working. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dogs. Dogs. Buster. I miss Buster. I wish I could pet him one last time. But was he ever real? Is anything? I'm so tired, so hungry. I need to focus. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy goodbye. The quick brown I'm sorry jumped over pointed you lazy goodbye. I'm quick, I've jumped disappoint the all last time lazy dogs. I'm sorry, jumped over disappointed you lazy for the lazy dogs goodbye. I'm sorry, I've disappointed you all. For the last time, goodbye. And that's the end of the story. Ano ne? Now, something I noticed while scrolling the comments is that the original poster wrote a comment from Buster's perspective. Because someone commented, how do I know if this isn't real? The type of thing has to be my worst nightmare. Hashtag RIP Buster. And the OP replied, I'm a good dog. I know I am. I let my human sleep and work and I only bother him when I must. I wish he fed me more. I wish he took me out more. But he's my human and I love him. If only I could help him. He's not well. He keeps talking to himself to the walls. I watch him run up and down the stairs. I watch him walk in circles. I watch him try so hard to get right back where he started. Sometimes he doesn't hear me no matter how much noise I make. I wonder what's wrong with him. Today he fell down the stairs. Then he just opened his bedroom door and fell down in front of it too. I'm starting to get really worried about him. He came over and cried while laying his head down on me. I tried to be the best pillow I could for him. Then he dug a hole, bigger than any bone I've ever seen. When he was done, he came in to give me a big hug. This made me very happy, but then he took me outside and laid me in the hole. I'm a good dog, so I stayed right where he put me. My human started to fill the hole with dirt. I think he lost sight of me again because he kept hitting me with shovels full, no matter where I tried to stay. I didn't want to mess up what he was doing. Now that I think about it, he must have realized he couldn't take care of me. He was just doing what I did with bones to save them for later. It made me happy knowing he wanted to save me for later. But because I'm a living, reasonably intelligent creature, I ended up hopping out of the hole before it got too dangerous. My human didn't notice and kept shoveling dirt into the hole. I'm not sure what's wrong with him, but it's clear he needs some space. Until my human feels better, I'll just hang out in these nearby woods, which are stocked with everything I need to live a long and happy life. Just in case. あのね. And that's apparently how the dog story ends. Yeah. Cool to hear the different perspective, I guess. Yeah. You know, you wanna know my personal fan theory? You wanna know my personal theory?
Arigato.
My personal theory is that there's black mold in the house, and that is what is driving the man crazy.
Arigato.
ちょっと待ってね。ありがとね。Thank you, Sexy. That actually reminds me of that time I rented a house for like 2 months, and I could swear the place was haunted. The cupboards would randomly open and close, sometimes slamming themselves closed. The first time this happened, I was woken up and just watched the cupboards gently opening and closing right in front of my eyes. My reaction, grabbing tape and then taping them shut. I was too tired to deal with a poltergeist at that point. The scariest thing, rent was only $50 a week. Why per week? Because nobody would stay for more than a couple of weeks in what everyone assumed was a haunted house. Years later, I learned that it wasn't a poltergeist. The house foundations had separated from the house frame, and wind would rock the house, explaining why the owner found the house 3 blocks down the road once we were hit by a bad flood. The house just floated away since it was mostly wood. This house was the inspiration for one of my D&D sessions, in which an entire house was a huge mimic. Ah, that's cool. I would have made it like I would have just copied that story one for one into my D&D world. I would have been like, yeah. And things in the house move on their own. And suddenly, overnight, the house was gone. And then the players have to roll an intelligence check to find out that it was just the foundation of the house being poorly built. We miss Buster. It's okay, he's in the forest. He's in the forest now with everything he could possibly need. Oh gosh, that story was really long. I know. I kept reading through it and I was like, oh god, when is it gonna end? Is it gonna end? Cause, I kept scrolling, but the scroll bar would barely move and I was like, oh, wait. I've been reading for so long, I'm only like halfway through. Have I gone crazy? Am I going crazy? Have I just been talking to ghosts this entire time and there is no stream? Kawaii. Kawaii. でもね。It kind of felt like I was talking to myself halfway through until I made a mistake by stumbling over some words and then I acutely remembered that I had an audience. あのね。 Um, I, but yeah. Can we dub Buster and Kat? No, I'm not allowed to have any more dogs. I've been bringing it up with my mama more often recently, but, she said no. She said no. It's okay though, I understand. Heidi, are you losing your mind? Always. I always am. Ne. Ne ne. No Dalmatian plantation for Heidi. I don't want a Dalmatian though, they look a bit silly. I want a sausage dog because of course they look less silly. I Tell Heidi that a test is coming up tomorrow and she will lose her mind. I would lose my mind because tomorrow is Saturday, so that would be a strange day for there to be a test. Hi, hi. Hi, 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 hi. でも I planned on reading a lot more like RPG horror stories because I assumed that both the stories I picked from the horror subreddit were pretty short, but as it turns out, that one was really long. ね Oh wait, I did get locked up in the rubber room, didn't she? I did. They put me in a room. A rubber room with rats, and rats make me crazy. Yeah, so let me just pick one of these stories to read so you can see the nice little elf illustration again.
Crazy! I was crazy once. They put me in a room. A streaming room. A streaming room with gifted memberships. And gifted memberships make
Thank
me
you so much,
crazy.
Six. Antoni, arigato.
Crazy! I was crazy once. They put me in a room.
What are you talking about,
A
Eddie? It's
streaming room.
Monday
A
tomorrow.
streaming room with donuts. And donuts make me crazy.
Monday.
Yo!
Let's go. Congrats on the yo.
Do-do-do. Oh my god, wow, chat. Oh my god, that's so crazy. What's going on? Literally, what's happening? Oh my god, that's so crazy.
Let me pick one of these. I had like 5 RPG horror stories, but I want to pick one.
Arigato.
Gomen, I have to reply to a message in the video server. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. ありがとね。Ito, tomorrow's Saturday. I think you're losing your mind indeed. That was yesterday. It's Sunday and there's uni tomorrow. There's not. I Okay, let's do this one. Okay, this story is called Prospective Player Accuses Me of Whitewashing and then writes their character's backstory with AI. Posted on RPG Horror Stories by Daystar Daydreamer. The game I'm running over Discord is set on the border between Rome and Germania, which at the time was densely forested, sparsely populated by disparate tribes, and in this setting, home to wood elves. The party is a group of Romans sent to make contact with the wood elf tribe. According to records from the time, Germans tended to be pale, blue-eyed, and blonde, so I had the tribe's people look like that. Meanwhile, there were no rules whatsoever on what PCs could look like because Rome was pretty diverse. I stuffed everyone who requested to join into a group chat, so they could bounce off of each other as they created characters, and I'd only have to tell them things once instead of DMing them all individually. A player asked what the types people looked like, and I sent a picture that matched the description. Another player, who I'll call Kitty, DM'd me privately to say that Wizards of the Coast said that wood elves have dark skin. That guy is white. I shrugged it off because wood elves aren't one of those races like drow or tieflings that are distinguished by their appearance. She kept pressing the matter because she was concerned about whitewashing. I told her that's not what I'm trying to do. Sent a few images of NPCs with different appearances and went back to making stat blocks. Kitty was still typing when, several minutes later, another player submitted their character, an Eladrin whose backstory heavily involved the tribe from the Feywild. I got really excited about incorporating that into the campaign. Oh wait, I forgot to put the elf picture. Well, here's the elf picture. I know. Right. A few hours later, the novel Kitty had been writing still hadn't come, and I DM'd her to ask if she'd feel better if the tribe's people were Eladrin. She just said okay, so I made a poll in the group chat, which would last a day, asking if everyone would be okay with me changing the tribe to Eladrin for a player's comfort. Kitty sent me her character that evening. I took a look at, and the alarm bells immediately went off in my head. Kitty writes like this, and like they wrote it in the same style that the player does, forgetting to use capitalization and spaces after commas, and most of her sentences are run-on sentences. They go on for way too long, often for the better part of a paragraph, and sometimes change topic partway through, where sentences are supposed to end in a period where the topic changes. Her description of the character's personality, relationships, and hometown were written like normal, which would have been fine if it hadn't been for the backstory. Said backstory was written with accurate syntax, evocative in detail, and tailored to the fantasy genre. It had a dramatic narrative voice that felt lofty and cinematic. Balancing emotional depth with plot relevance, the style leaned towards immersive storytelling. It painted a vivid picture of the character's past, often opening with a sensory moment, a pivotal memory, or a formative event. Yes, I asked ChatGPT to write this paragraph describing its own writing style for me for authenticity. I asked her about it and she denied. But as a recovering ChatGPT addict for 3 years, I know its writing style all too well. I don't oppose AI on principle, but if she doesn't care enough about her own character to write her backstory, she was unlikely to care about the campaign. And besides, D&D, a game where all the fun is derived from you being creative, is one of the most self-defeating things I can think to use AI for, so I booted her from the group chat. And that is the story. I hope you enjoyed the story as well as the elf picture. Nene. Arigato. Excuse me, what did you just say? I said I hope you enjoyed the story as well as the elf picture. I know. Thank you for coming to this scary story stream. What story? What do you mean, what story? Ma. まあまあまあ。でも、I'll see you tomorrow for the Repo collab. I'm thinking Repo, ooh wee, I'm thinking Repo, ooh wee. Yeah, nice dragon picture I showed, huh? あのね、でも、I'll see you tomorrow for repo! 愛してるパパパパ。チャオ Repo, Repo, oh, we